Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for the Summer Wellbeing for Your Mental Health presentation. So over the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to take you through kind of highlight some things for your mental health to consider throughout the summer months. I think for a lot of us, when we reach the summer months, we think going out, being social, having fun, having a good time, and being carefree. But we really do need to prioritize our mental health throughout the year, throughout all seasons, to be able to maintain and prioritize that piece of our health. Especially with COVID-19 and everything going on and all the changes that we've had to deal with, we know now more than ever that we need to prioritize our mental health and make it a priority in our day-to-day routine, practice those coping skills so that we have them in our back pocket or in our toolkit when and if we need them. So from the Canadian Mental Health Association, we know that about 40% of Canadians say their mental health has deteriorated since the onset of the pandemic. So we know that there's a need for conversations around mental health to be taking place. And that goes with the summer months as well. So just because, we're not stuck inside so much anymore, we can at least go out and go for a walk and do maybe some of our routine items. We know that during the summer months, we still need to make mental health a priority. We still are concerned about, being overwhelmed or the changes that are going on in our day-to-day life. And one thing that I'm going to be touching on in this presentation is a little bit about summer depression and maybe seasonal affective disorder, or SAD as people know it. And how that can play a role in our life, not just in the winter months, but also in the summer months. So throughout this presentation, it should be about 15 minutes, as I mentioned. I'll be touching on what stress is. I'll talk about some summer stresses, some stressors in our life, maybe not specific to summer as well. I'll also talk about what stress is in the sense of if we don't deal with it and if we don't do anything about it, what it can happen to our mental well-being and our mental health moving forward. I'll also touch on some summer stress management tools, so some coping skills I personally use a lot of to help our mental health and our mental well-being throughout the summer months. As well, some resources that, these coping skills or strategies can only help so much. Sometimes we do need to take it that step further and reach out to someone to help us. And that's all right. That's all good. I'll be sharing some of those key resources with you at the end of the presentation. So when we look at stress at a physiological level, we know that stress is absolutely necessary in our life. It was absolutely necessary when we had to, defend ourselves against mountain lions back in the day, using that fight, flight, or freeze response. But now, as we've kind of changed and progressed, we don't really have that form of stimuli anymore, or not in our day-to-day routine. However, we still have this same stress response. Everything that's going on in our body when we feel stress or when we perceive stress in a situation is doing the exact same thing. And I'll touch on some of those key factors in a minute here. But from things like wearing multiple hats to dealing with the stress of COVID-19 to maybe now dealing with kids being home full time, maybe summer school, whatever it is, balancing so many different things in our life, especially during the summer months, and still trying to make it fun. There's a lot of things that can cause or create that stress response to go off in us. It's going to look different for everyone. Everyone has different stressors in their life. What stresses me out might not stress you out, vice versa. So it's very independent. But we know that if we have stress long term and we are constantly having that stress response, we're going to be overexposed to cortisol and other stress hormones that can disrupt our body's processes. So, things like anxiety, depression, digestive problems, headaches, heart disease, sleep problems, weight gain, memory impairment, you name it. There's so many impacts that can come from constantly having that stress response and constantly having that cortisol levels in our body that we want to try to avoid. one way to avoid them being with coping strategies that I'll touch on in a minute. So what is stress? Stress is really that imbalance between the demands of a situation and your personal coping resources. So I'll talk about this again, but essentially when we don't have those tools in the toolbox, or we don't perceive that we have those tools to deal with a certain situation, our body's gonna place that stress response on us. So it's not always about if you actually have the tools or the resources. It's that perceived ability to cope with a situation, depending on life's experiences, your past, maybe your education, things like that is going to impact your ability to perceive to cope with a situation. So how do you know when you're stressed out? So when we become stressed, there's that alarm reaction in our body. I know everyone has heard of this by now, the fight, flight, or freeze response. Essentially, our body prepares to either fight, run, or stay still and kind of that freeze. So when that's going on, and I talked about it a second ago, but when that's going on, our heart rate's increased, our blood pressure, our breathing, the amount of blood being pumped to our muscles goes way up. So we're actually not having as much blood to the brain. That's going to raise our cholesterol levels, disturb our intestinal activities, depress the immune system, and in general leave us feeling stressed out. So what that can look like is going to be dependent on the individual, but stressed out maybe is going to be that heavy breathing, red face, overwhelmed, not being able to think. I know a lot of people say brain fog, irritability. It's going to be different based on different people, but here's a list of common ones. And that's this chart is a really good key indicator of, acknowledging when you're feeling stressed and being able to see the warning signs within yourself that you're saying, okay, I am stressed out, I need to do something about it. And that's when we'll employ a coping strategy, or even before, so we can avoid being stressed out and having this response happen. So within our day-to-day life, there are so many stressors that we have to deal with. As I mentioned, all of us are wearing multiple hats. Maybe we're a parent, a dog parent, we work full-time, we're a daughter, a son, you name it. We wear so many hats in our life that when things boil over, or there's too much time that you need for one of those hats to be worn, there's going to be a disruption in your stress level. And that's same with during the summer months. So some things that take place during the summer months that might impact our stress level. And I know I'll touch on them in a minute, but I know a lot of people perceive summer as low stress, no stress, stress-free. But in reality, there's a lot of stressors in our life during the summer months that we might not be, clear on, or, be able to identify. But really, we need to identify those and be able to make our mental health a priority. So here are a few summer stressors that I've acknowledged or that I've seen, and that CAMH also identifies. So a disruption in our routine or schedule or habits. So for a lot of us, we take vacation time during the summer months. We go on vacation, maybe not so far away this year, but maybe we go camping or to the in-laws or wherever we go. As well, the children are out of school full time. That might be not so much of a stressor this year with at-home teaching, but for a lot of us, we feel the need to entertain our children. We have to make sure that they're safe and happy. So that's a consideration as well. Changes in sleep and eating habits due to that disruption of routine. So I know for a lot of us during the summer months, we maybe have more pool parties, barbecue parties, things like that, where we're not as concerned about our eating habits as maybe we are during other months. We kind of live that carefree lifestyle. So, have the chips on the daily maybe, as well our disruption in sleep. Maybe we're attending more vacation spots, maybe we're staying up later. and not prioritizing sleep quite as much. Along with that, the fact that the sun goes down later, I know that impacts me a lot. Of okay, if the sun goes down at 9 p.m., I'm staying up a couple hours late after that, just because that feels like routine, when in fact that's not my routine at all. The next one here is for health reasons, preventing participation in physical activity. Maybe it's too hot to do physical activity outside. Maybe for whatever reason, there's a financial burden associated with participating in summer activities, things like that. That could also lead to that isolation feeling of loneliness, things like that. And then the last summer stressor I thought of was that anxiety of avoiding participating in outdoor activities, maybe due to COVID restrictions, so not feeling safe, even as things open up and we get back to maybe our normal. Maybe you don't feel safe about it, or there's extra anxiety about going back to those routines. I know for a lot of us right now, that's probably where we're at. As well, concerns about physical appearance. Maybe you haven't seen people in multiple months or over a year, and you're worried about how they might perceive you, and things like that. As well, that financial burden associated with summer activities. A lot of summer activities do have a cost associated with them now, or pre-booking and things like that. So making that, that could be an easy stressor for a lot of us, even making, scheduling that hike or whatever it is now, where before you could just go and do it. So when we talk about stressors, there's two forms, and I've kind of touched on the main summer stressors maybe, but we can't negate the fact that there are still a ton of stressors that we are having ongoing throughout our day-to-day routine, whether it be summer, winter, you name it. So a few things like physical or environmental could be things like noise, crowds, not so much, but maybe the cold or lack of light or too much light, maybe lack of windows. Social could be, social situations. Maybe we haven't had to be social in a few months or even a year, and now we're being kind of thrown back into that, and what that looks like for us could cause some stress. Maybe there's, difficult in work relationships, things like that. Institutional would be rules, regulations, restrictions, things like that. I know there's a lot of restrictions right now that we've had to kind of come to terms with, so that could be an impact or a stressor in your life. Major life events could be things like moving, divorce, death, having a child, things like that. And then those daily hassles, and these are the ones that maybe impact us, not most, but more routinely, would be those small daily hassles like traffic or waiting in long lines, especially with COVID, with those numbers going down for letting people into buildings. Maybe losing something, or your car breaks down, or things like that. When we talk about internal stressors, there's things like lifestyle choices. So, choosing to maybe drink alcohol more during the summer months is going to impact your life and your stress levels, or your ability to perceive stress. Insufficient sleep, absolutely. Maybe poor work-life balance. Maybe our nutrition is lacking because of the summer months. Those are all going to have an impact on our stress levels as well. Maybe mind trap stressors, so setting unrealistic expectations. Maybe you're that personality type that's a people pleaser or wanting to be a perfectionist, and that's going to cause stress as well. So, when we talk about stress, there's just so many things that can cause us to have that stress reaction. It's really about finding that balance. So we want to make sure that we're feeling challenged a little bit in our lives, but we don't want to overdo it, maybe have that fatigue, exhaustion, or burnout associated with stress. So we do really want to find that balance of, yes, I'm challenged, I'm a little bit stressed, I have positive stress in my life, but we want to try to avoid that negative stress in our life. And we know those long-term effects. I already mentioned a few, but even more long-term, there's heart disease, cancer, lung ailments, accidents, suicide, things like that could impact us. And I actually mentioned seasonal affective disorder as well at the beginning of this presentation. And that can absolutely impact us during the summer months as well. So typically people think of SAD as a winter only thing, but during the summer months, we can absolutely see SAD pop up. Things like symptoms like feeling sad or low mood, feeling hopeless, low energy, increased or decreased appetite, weight gain, things like that. So not to forget about that as well. So why should we manage our stress? Really important, we're managing our stress to feel happier, healthier, more productive, to increase our resilience, especially when there's so much going on. We need to bounce back from those changes that are happening in our life. We need to be able to handle life's demands and prevent those negative effects of the stress response. So if we're employing a coping strategy, we're hopefully inducing that relaxation response. I'll get into this in a second a little bit more, but to avoid those negative effects of ongoing stress in our life. And if we don't deal with stress effectively and we're just letting it kind of build on each other and build, then we're not going to be dealing with it effectively. It's going to impact our day-to-day life. It's going to impact our mental wellness and our mental fitness. So we absolutely always want to be in the green or the healthy zone. But when life throws us things, maybe we're not dealing with it effectively, maybe we're not dealing with it at all. Then we're going to be pushing ourselves to the right on this continuum, and that's not where we want to be. So we want to make sure that we're dealing with this effectively. So during the summer months, as I mentioned, I think a lot of people kind of place less emphasis on their mental health and making it a priority. But I want or encourage you to think of a few different tools that you currently use that are helping your mental health. This could be physical activity, mindfulness activities, taking time for yourself, relaxation, maybe reading a book, things like that. So think of things that maybe have worked well for you in the past, maybe even during the summer months or winter months, and use them for during the summer months as well. And also think of some things that maybe haven't worked so well for you in the past. So these could be, we frame them as negative coping strategies, maybe substance use, gossiping about things or looking for validation, maybe blowing it up out of proportion to the stressor, maybe gambling or gaming or trying to push things under the rug. Are all things that we want to try to avoid. We want to try to employ some positive coping strategies. So here's a list of some positive coping strategies that we can use. I'm going to kind of brush over this, but press pause on the video if you want to read more. I'll get into a few different ones here, specifically around summer. So a few that I want to touch on are physical activity. Right now, I've seen a huge increase in people getting outside and getting walking and being outdoors, maybe going camping, maybe hiking, you name it. Absolutely should be top of your priority list. It's going to help not only your physical health, but your mental health as well. So try and choose activities you like, involve the family or your household members. Getting outside is going to be a huge bonus here because you're getting fresh air, you're getting that vitamin D from the sun. Make sure to follow sun safety, but try and do physical activity outdoors as well if you can during the summer months, and maybe get creative with things. Try things you maybe haven't tried before, and that will kind of push you to do more physical activity in the future. The next one here is nutrition. So preparing healthy meals. I know we oftentimes push our nutrition to the side for the summer months because of those, healthy barbecues, unhealthy barbecues or cookouts or whatever it is that usually involve alcohol or maybe chips or unhealthy snacks, things like that. So we want to try to maintain a healthy diet throughout the summer months. So absolutely, there's room in your nutrition plan for those other foods, as we call them. but making it a priority to eat those nutrient-dense foods more often, and create that balance in your life that is going to help not only your mental health, but also all aspects of your health. So try to be, eat mindfully, eat with others, and try to make nutrition a priority. It's a very well linked to our mental health. So making that a priority is really important. The next one here is a sleep schedule. So make sure you're following a sleep routine. I know during the summer months, we tend to kind of put that to the wayside because we're having fun or whatever it is, but try to create a bedtime routine, try to maintain a proper sleep schedule. For adults, that's anywhere from 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Try to avoid things like alcohol before bed or physical activity, strenuous physical activity before bed. Those things are going to impact your sleep routine. So making sure that you're listening to your body and making time for sleep and making it a priority during the summer months. And the last thing here I wanted to touch on was our social network. So I know through COVID, we might not have been able to, have the summer that we were expecting or are having the summer we wanted to due to COVID restrictions. But make sure you're putting an emphasis on your social network, chatting with people over FaceTime or, whatever it is, socially distanced gatherings to make your social interactions positive and make sure you're having that piece of the puzzle, because we know that the social connections are huge for our mental health. So we really do want to try to avoid that social withdrawal or social isolation that maybe some of us are doing right now, and try to think of fun new ways to get out or virtually get out to hang out with friends or family members or loved ones, and have that sense of belonging and purpose associated with having a social network. And then the last piece here, I'll touch on one of these. So setting a financial budget ahead of time for your summer and spring activities. I know for a lot of people, a financial burden associated with the summer months is enough to kind of impact your stress and have a negative effect on your stress. So if you're able to set out a budget prior to the summer months so that you can plan activities that are a priority for you and a priority for your family, that's going to really help with your stress levels throughout the summer months to feel like you're getting something out of the summer but not missing out on too much. So that's a priority, but also other coping strategies. There's tons of them. Finding what works for you is a top of your priority, or should be the top of your priority. So making time to explore those is really important. And on that, I will talk about resources. So there's tons of resources available, both CAF resources and non-CAF resources. So I've listed a few here, as well as a few more here. So, if you do need assistance with your stress or your mental health, there are resources available. They are here for you if you need them. A lot of them are 24/7, always ready to assist. So use them if you need it. And if you do have any questions about mental health or prevention associated with mental health, please reach out to us at Health Promotion, and we can assist you as best we can. And if we don't know the answers, we will get those for you. So our email is bordenhealthpromotion@gmail.com, and you can find us on Facebook and Instagram as well. But that is all for now from me. Be sure to make your mental health a priority during the summer months and take time for yourself, associated with the summer months. So if you have any questions, reach out. But otherwise, have a great day, and hopefully you will join us again in the future. Bye.